Welcome, everyone. My name is Lyle Benjamin, and I am the founder and executive director of Planned Acts of Kindness. And today we're going to be doing an overview about our internship mentorship program and how it also fits into our mission and objectives through Planned Acts of Kindness and the One Planet, One People movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask some of you to go ahead and introduce yourselves by saying who you are, what school you're attending, what your major is, and also attracted you to our internship program, mentorship program, besides experience. So everyone who comes to us, whether they're undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, is interested in experience, because that's what we do. We do real world experience. So we already know that. So what other things are you hoping to gain from your time in our program? Okay, so while people are talking, and what I'd like you to do is to go into the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and put in a link to a file where you can open that up, and then you can add your contact information into that file. And if there's things in there that you don't understand yet, don't worry about it. Don't fill that out. This is just for us to record. Okay, who's participating. All right, so who would like to go first and introduce yourself, what school you go to, what you're studying, and what you hope to gain out of the program?
Oh, can I go first?
Of course, absolutely.
Good morning. My name is Firas. I went to Montclair State for my bachelor's degree. I have bachelor's in economics, and now I'm going to NJIT, New Jersey Institution of Technology. I'm getting my master's in data science. What attracted me to apply for this position is beside getting like the hands-on experience from the real world, is the only fact that you guys are doing a phenomenal job just with helping people, not seeking any profit. And I feel like nothing is better than to help people without just waiting for something in return. So that's basically it. So the main goal is to get the experience plus what the feeling that you can get from just to help kids, especially without just seeking any kind of profit.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank
you. That's one of the things that we look for in the people who we bring into our programs, people who have a desire to go ahead and help others as well. That it's not all about the, it's important to go ahead and have right enough money to go ahead and have quality of life, right? But that shouldn't supersede other things that you need to do as a human being on this planet. So thank you, right, for sharing that. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and listen to some of you talk about what field you're in, and I'm going to then go into an introduction about our programs, but also how all of our programs will utilize all the different fields that you want to get real world experience in. So it doesn't matter whether we're doing Sirem, Project Cope, the One Planet, One People Club program, any of our, dozens of programs, they all utilize business, marketing, management, office technology, research, time management. It doesn't matter whether you're going into IT, whether you're going into web development, app development, game development, front end, back end, database management, analytics. We use those in literally all the programs that we're doing. If you're going into communication, visual communication, journalism, writing, graphic design, animation, all of these things are used in our different programs, because what we do is we do outreach, engagement, inspiration, plus education and action to achieve objectives. Okay. And the way that our program's structured is that everything you're doing is for the real world. Whereas I was just having a conversation earlier today with Robin for his one-on-one for his custom internship. And what we were discussing, one of the things we were discussing is that everything we do in school has no impact on the real world. So you spend 4, right? Well, you spend 12, then 4 years in college, and then maybe 2 years for a master's, right? 4 years for a PhD, right? And everything you're doing is basically, right, has no impact. And we do exactly the opposite. Everything you do in our program is designed for you to have an impact with the work that you do, and to outreach and engage people. Because isn't that the objective of what you're doing in IT? Okay, isn't that the objective of what you're doing in graphic design, in business, in communication? So we handle literally over 20 different disciplines. But besides giving you the real world experience, we're going to add in 8 foundation skills that you need to be using collaboratively in order to move from that worker mentality of task-driven work, which is how schools are, you know, how they evaluate performance, right, to real-world objectives that you need to know how to achieve. In order to achieve objectives, you have to use these 8 foundation skills. Communication is number 1. Doesn't matter what field you're in. If you can't communicate properly, if you don't know the terminology and the language and the culture of that industry, you will not be successful. 2, you've got to understand, right, the business marketing of the company as it applies to what you're doing. You've got to know how to do management, project management. We get master's level students, right, in finance, economics, business, who don't know how to set up spreadsheets properly in order to manage projects. And whether you're doing graphic design, whether you're doing IT, whether you're doing journalism, whatever, you need to manage what you're doing. And the fundamentals for doing that are what we call line item outlines, which governs everything from how you take notes in meetings to how you go ahead and show your work to other people so they can understand it just like that, to how you do proposals and how you manage your projects. And then the same thing with setting up spreadsheets properly. It's not as simple or as easy as you think, and the learning takes place not from turning it in and getting a grade and getting a few comments. The learning takes place from the different iterations of what you go through, where you become more and more aware of how details come into play in order to elevate your level of professionalism. So you need to know how to communicate properly. You need to know business, marketing, project management. You need to know how to research properly, how to use the right keywords to get back the right information so you can analyze it, you can synthesize it, You can utilize it in your programs while you're going ahead and doing creative and critical thinking, how you're doing problem solving, and time management on what you're doing. Because what we learn in school about turning in projects and assignments has nothing to do with how the real world operates. So when I ask, right, my interns, you know, how long is it going to take you to go ahead and do this particular thing that you're assigned to do? And they say 2 days, 3 days, and then we start to analyze, and it turns out it's 4 hours. If everything you were doing was going to take 2 or 3 days for you to turn in, right, you would have missed the project deadline by a couple of weeks. And the thing is that 4 hours that it takes you to do as you're learning to do it properly, when you're a professional, it might only take you an hour, hour and a half to do. And that's what the stages that you're going to go through as you develop the skills that you need, not to go ahead and impress the 80–90% that are going to look at your work and say, oh yeah, that's fine, because they didn't do any analysis on what you did. They just looked at it. We go ahead and do our work for that 10% that really know what they're doing, that can analyze in 30 seconds everything that you've done and evaluate it, critique it, and know whether it's at the level of professionalism that they want to see in an organization or a program that they might become a part of. So everyone follow that. If you follow that, what I want you to do is raise your right hand. Okay, now keep it up. Okay. Now you're on Zoom, all right? And thank you, you can put it down. Okay, you all did actually a really good job, okay? Because sometimes you get people who raise their hand and it's like this, you know, or it's like this, it's off the screen, all right? So you have to know how to use technology. That's part of, right, the 8 foundation skills in order to be successful, okay? So when you're going on meetings, you know, right, not to call people out, okay? But David, you might want to have a background that's different than your bed. Okay, so you want to go ahead and have, you know, be aware of what's going on around you. And I talk to a lot of professionals, you know, in my position. And, you know, there's a lot of jokes about what goes on during Zoom meetings and things like this, right? So you want to go ahead and minimize those types of things, because when you're going into corporate environments, which most of you will, okay, people won't tell you the things that you're not doing correctly. But believe me, they take notice, and management takes notice. And that will have everything to do with whether you're promoted in the future. Okay? So you've got to be aware of these things. Now, we will go ahead and tell you everything that we feel you need to do differently to be at that high level of professionalism, because we're not interested in training workers. That's not what this program is about, okay? Who here wants to just be a worker? Raise your hand. Nobody? Come on, we need workers in this world, okay? God, if we're just raising managers and leaders, oh my goodness, what's going to happen in the future? Well, what's going to happen in the future is you're going to fix the mess, right, that the world has gotten into, even though it's no fault of your own. Okay? The world is in crisis today. Can anyone think of reasons why? If you can, right, and you want to express them, unmute yourself, okay? Give me a reason why the world is in crisis.
Climate change.
Climate change. Great. Next.
Pandemic is obvious one right now.
Pandemic. Next.
People's mentality.
People's mentality, their civility. Okay. Absolutely.
Genocide and terror.
Excuse me?
I would say genocide and terrorism.
Sure. Absolutely. War.
Systemic racism.
Terrorism. What else?
Systemic racism.
Systemic racism. Okay. Good. And when I say good and when I say whatever, I'm saying good that you get it, not that we have those things, just to be clear. Okay. I don't want people going, hey, you know, the founder of Planned Acts of Kindness just said racism is good. Okay, please. Right. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. And it's good that I can get some humor and get some jokes in, and you guys appreciate that because I can see some smiling faces. So that's actually important as well while you're on Zoom. And that is to go ahead and give positive feedback to the people that are speaking, to know, so they know that you're engaged with what they're talking about. You do not want to be on a Zoom meeting like this. And then someone's talking to you and you're like, okay. So the, the thing is, it's better just to put your picture up there and say, hey, I'm having video difficulties, all right, than to go ahead and give people that type of feedback. All right, so you want to be expressive. When they say something you agree with, right, go like that, right? They say, raise your hand, okay? And the next time that I ask you to raise your hand, I'm gonna ask you to raise your left hand, right? Because that's part of our health and wellness program. You get some exercise while you're here. Okay, so, you know, the thing is that all of these things that you mentioned are global social issues that are not going to be solved by governments and corporations alone. Planned Acts of Kindness is a nonprofit educational organization that is designed from the ground up to be completely disruptive to multiple institutions in order to solve global social issues. So what I'm going to do, I know that we haven't gone into a lot of professions, I just talked about it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some of our programs. And these are the programs that you'll be coming in and working through. Okay, so if you don't have seatbelts, right, you know, grab onto something, because this is going to be a little bit of a whirlwind. And, you know, if you start to experience dizziness or nosebleeds or your head's going to explode, right, just raise your hand, right, and we'll see what we can do for you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And this is what we were just talking about. We are at the tipping point for humanity, and this decade will determine quality of life for billions of people. The time for division is over. The fractional approach to solving global social issues doesn't work. So, starting April 1st, we are doing a program called 100 Organizations in 100 Days. We are signing up 100 organizations that agree to collaborate in order to work on solving these global social issues. And this is under the One Planet, One People movement, which is part of Planned Acts of Kindness. We've got one planet, we got one people on the planet, and if we don't start acting like it, the world is going to be a tremendously different place for billions of people. So there are 4 pillars that make up the One Planet, One People program, and that's civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. And what we do is we work with what we call our 5 by 5. We work with 5 groups of people: students, employees, owners, retirees, and the unemployed. And we do that on a grassroots basis where people take personal individual responsibility for their behavior. And then We work in conjunction with 5 types of institutions: schools, faith-based, NPO, NGOs, governments, government agencies, and businesses. And we work from the top down to help them achieve shareholder and stakeholder objectives. So our programs are built on collaboration between the 5 by 5. Okay, and we get into areas like health and well-being, civility and kindness, equality and social justice, education and career development, work and family benefits, global citizenship. And you're going to see how these apply. Our goals for 2021, 2022 is to be in all 200 countries around the world. We're setting up ambassadorship programs for the different continents, as well as the different countries. We're establishing peace laureates in every country, 2 youth and 2 adult, who are responsible for bringing our programs into the 5 by 5. And then inside those countries, there'll be thousands and thousands and thousands of deputy peace laureates who'll be acting on the ground in order to go ahead and help solve these global social issues. So on an organizational level, we form partnerships, sponsorships, we do fundraising. On the influencer side, we have ambassadors, peace laureates, and our success team. When you come into our program, you'll be members of our college success team. We have professional success team. We also have advisory success team. So I don't know if you've heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the books, right? Jack Canfield, who's the author of those books. They're the best-selling series of books in history with over 650 million copies sold. He's now behind Success TV and the Success Principles, and he is a big supporter of our program. And just like on the organizational side, the Peace Corps has reviewed our programs and had much conversations with us and has made us a partner program for their volunteer people around the world. So there are several ways that we engage people, because not everyone wants to go ahead and learn and get educated in order to be inspired and take action the same way. So if all we did was put out books, we'd be missing large segments of the population. If all we did was workshops or courses, the same thing would be true. So we have a variety of ways to do outreach, engagement, inspiration, education, and action in order to achieve objectives. So when you come into our program, you'll have the opportunity to go ahead and choose the areas that you're interested in going into, but also some of the activities and responsibilities that you'll have in order to make things happen. Okay, and whenever possible, what we do is we want to make what you're doing quantifiable so that you can show your growth over time in terms of your development and your engagement. So everyone following that? Okay, so we have our book series, 16 Things We All Can Do to Act Right and Help Save the Planet. And we have special editions of the book that we can customize to help meet organizational objectives. The books form the basis of One Planet, One People workshops, which are free to everyone. Inside the book, it tells you how to form your workshop. And what happens is the books cover 16 problems in a specific area like mental health, or gender bias, or climate change, or sustainability. Before COVID-19 hit, we were talking to Pfizer Pharmaceutical, And they were interested in doing a book for all their people in the world who, who interact with communities on safety issues so they can minimize any type of incidents. Okay. And then, of course, COVID-19 hit and everything gets delayed because they're kind of busy with producing something that's kind of important for people in the world. Likewise, we were talking to Kroger Groceries about doing a book on food loss, hunger, and waste to help meet their objectives as far as sustainability. If you don't have your video on, you need to turn your video on, okay? But you can keep yourself on mute until you're ready to talk. Okay, so the books are expert reference books on particular subjects. And for every issue that we address, we have two experts that say why we need to solve this problem and what we need to do to solve the problem. And then the books go into the workshops where you can set up a workshop on Zoom or in person for 6, 12 people. And you read out loud what the problem scenario is, how we normally handle that, which is not a good way, and then what the two experts say that we need to do to solve that problem. And then you have a discussion group about the issues. But it's more than just talk, it's action also. Your group can be broken into smaller groups where people can take action on a local, national, or global basis in order to work on solving that issue. And then there's also an app that we customize for the organization that's the sponsor that features all 32 of the experts. And our goal is to be putting out 100,000 books on a particular subject. The sponsor gets back 35,000 copies. The rest go into distribution and circulation so that we're impacting large numbers of people. And if you happen to work on a book or doing research or working on setting up the interviews with the featured experts, your name will go into the book. Okay, so we have people, some people on this call are actually in our program and their names will be going into the book that we're doing on mental health and other issues. Another book that we're releasing this month is called Legacy Lifelines Memorial, a special edition. And this allows people to create a keepsake for a loved one who has passed to help keep the joy and the memories alive for themselves, their family, and future generations. And what we've done is we've pledged to give away a free book to every family in the world that lost a loved one due to COVID-19. So the thing is, you might be working on whether social media, you might be working on the business aspects of what we do, because all of our programs have hardcore entrepreneurial business aspects to them, even though we're a nonprofit, because we need to have scalability in what we do in order to attract the numbers that we need to affect global change. So that's why, right, earlier, well, at the end of last month, one of our people who is one of our ambassadors is arranging a meeting with us with the founders of Black Lives Matter, because Yvonne feels that their organization has a lot of momentum, but they don't have the programs, they don't have the systems in order to really affect change. So she kind of described it as they're like a bunch of chickens running around, right? Without a plan. Okay, so we have the programs, we have the scalability models. So we're going to be meeting with them and seeing how we can collaborate. And the thing is that you might be working on projects like that, introducing, right, working with NGOs, faith-based schools, depending on your interest. You might be in a fraternity or sorority where you go ahead and bring it up, not only to your chapter, but all the way up to national in order to get them to collaborate. And then it helps them achieve their objectives, because what it does is it gives them a way to recruit, retain members, and have positive public relations with communities, which is something they've sorely needed for decades, because whenever they get news, right, in the community, it's usually bad. Okay, and it usually involves drinking, hazing, and people dying. And that's not a good thing on any level. So to change that culture, they can implement any number of programs that we have that could help them achieve their objectives. And you might be the person who makes that happen. And if you're going to yawn during a Zoom meeting, please go ahead, right, and cover up. Thank you. Okay, so the thing is, you might be working to get a memorial book placed with a large company who will then go ahead and distribute from the top down to their members. You might be working with a government in order to do the same thing. A lot of you, right, might be first generation Americans, right, where your parents came from other places, okay, or you might have been born somewhere else, you might be studying here, and the thing is that we have the ability for you to go ahead and go back into, right, that country and make a difference. Okay, Shreyas is here with us today, and he's actually from India. He's in can't even say that right. He's in India right now, but he's also a student at Brandeis University in Massachusetts. So he's working with us from India and making things happen and connecting with NGOs in order to foster that collaborative, efforts. Okay. The Working Dead is our financial literacy and planning book, which teaches people what they need to know about how money really works, not what we're taught in school. Most of us, right, aren't taught anything about how money works, okay, because our majors aren't finance, economics, or business. And when our majors are finance, economics, or business, we're taught the Wall Street way of how money works. And unfortunately, Wall Street works for Wall Street. Wall Street does not work for 95% of the population. So in order to go ahead and have quality of life, you have to understand how money works. You have to understand the relationship of how institutions work with your money. Because what they say and what they do are two different things. And then you need to know how you can go ahead and take action in order to have the foundation that you need for your future, for your family as well. And when we do this type of education, it's coming from the standpoint of financial advisors that are licensed by the government in order to provide advice. The difference between how we do it and how other financial advisors do it is, number one, we don't charge anything for the education that we do. It's free. We don't charge anything when we're working with people and families for the financial needs analysis that we do, whereas financial advisors charge between $500 and $2,500. And if we do make recommendations for plans, there are guarantees with those plans where you can't lose principal, where any interest that you earn gets converted to principal. So you have guaranteed growth. as opposed to the plans that are offered by companies, 401ks, 403bs, 457 government plans. Those only give you the opportunity for growth. So you can have 3 years of paper growth. It's not your money. It's only your money if you take it out. And if you take it out too early, there's penalties. If you take it out and you've made money, there's taxes. So when you need your money the most in retirement, the way that the plans are set up today for the vast majority of people is you're going to be paying taxes. So when you need the money the most, that's when the government is going to go ahead and say, hey, fork over, right? 20, 30, 40, 50%. Since the tax code was started in 1913, there have been over 60 years where the tax code was over 50%. Today, right? Yeah, it's fairly low. But the thing is, has anyone heard of something called the deficit? Okay, does anyone care to explain what the deficit is?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the deficit is when your balance at the end of the year is minus. So you're importing more than you export. So you're basically in a loss of money.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and explain it a different way in terms of how the federal government operates. The deficit as the federal government operates is, right, the interest that they pay on money that they've borrowed, okay, that's not covered by taxes. So the thing is that, right, the last administration started with a deficit of $20 trillion and then added about 6 trillion over 4 years. The current administration, right, is adding over 4 trillion in terms of what they're borrowing in order to do the stimulus plan as well as the infrastructure plan. Okay, that's the interest on the debt. So there are 3 stratas in society. There's poor, there's middle class, and there's rich. The poor don't pay taxes. Guess what? The rich don't pay taxes either for the most part. Okay? They do everything they can to minimize how much their tax exposure is.
Do you
So,
want to ask a question?
excuse me. No, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Put yourself on mute. Thank you. So the thing is, the middle class is the one that pays the majority of taxes in order to fund the government and all the programs that are occurring. So do you think that in the future, you can control what your tax level is going to be? No. Okay, that's done by politicians. All right. So the thing is, do you think that your taxes are going to go up or down from where they are today? Who thinks they're going to go up? Raise a hand. Okay, we don't see a lot of people with a real hand raised. We see some tentative things here. Okay, if you're going to participate, you got to really raise your hand and keep it up there until it's acknowledged. Okay, if you don't think the taxes are going to go up, raise your hand. Okay, so we've got a lot of abstainers who don't know one way or the other, and we got some people who don't think they're going to go up. Well, the thing is that someone's going to have to pay for the cost of the pandemic, the crumbling infrastructure, the cost of climate change, pollution, all of these things. And the chances are it's going to be you as you enter the workforce. Okay, so you need to know how money works. You need to know how the institutions go ahead and handle, right, your money. And then you need to know how you can protect it so that you can have quality of life. Because actually, taxation is the single biggest reason that prevents people from having financial stability later on in life. And this is what we teach in our Money Matters Mastery program. And this is what we work through the IRC code to go ahead and give protections to people so they can go ahead and have quality of life for their family. And it doesn't matter whether they're making minimum wage or they're making six-figure income. We can help everyone. And what we do is we go into the tax code and we use the programs that the rich set up for themselves that you don't get through companies, that you don't get if you go to those billion-dollar companies, because they don't make money from you putting in $300, $500, $1,000 a month towards your retirement, towards your healthcare. Okay, so if you're interested in finance, economics, business, things like this, we have a tremendous program in that area. All right, now, at the base of the Planned Acts of Kindness at the foundation is the Karma Club. Has anyone been to our website, downloaded our app? Right, raise your hand. And you can raise other hands because that's how you get exercise. So remember that, okay? Because the thing is, right, you want to apply different things that, okay, thank you, Brian. You want to apply different things that we say and teach to other situations. That's how you go ahead and really start to develop your skills, okay, by extrapolating and thinking, hey, you know what? He talked to me about this, or I learned this, and you know, I can apply that to this other situation here. Okay, so even something as simple as, hey, alternating hands, right? It's kind of a joke, right? But there's something in it that you can take forward. And that's what you've always got to be doing, is you've always got to be thinking about analyzing, right, what you're seeing, what's in front of you, so that you can go ahead and apply in order to achieve objectives. Okay, so with the Karma Club, what happens is it's a global social responsibility platform where every day people wake up and there's new planned act of kindness that they can do with their friends, family, coworkers, and in their community. And the goal is to have tens of millions of people in the United States, hundreds of millions of people around the world doing the same planned act on the same day and unleashing that much positive, powerful energy into the world. You know, the keys to living happier, healthier lives, as we were talking about on the outside of this of this talk, it's not a question of how much money you make. It's not a question of how many drugs you take or how many toys you have. It's really, right, your relationships, the quality of your relationships, your ties to your community, whether that's on the local, national, or global scale. We're just going ahead, right, and introducing ways that people need to be thinking globally about what they're doing, you know, about how they interact with people. Okay, so even though you might be acting locally or nationally, right, it has an impact on global. And that's what people need to understand. So the, you know, one thing is for people to take personal responsibility and behavior through planned acts. And there are 4 different things that you do during the course of the month. You do your daily planned acts, you do engagement, you do volunteerism, no matter where you are in the world through our programs, you do support. When you do these to a certain level, you actually then level up and you're eligible for free gifts that we give away. Our goal by the end of the year is to give away hundreds of gifts a day to random people who have leveled up in the Karma Club. So the more you do, the greater your rewards. It's the positive aspects of karma, and guess what? It's gamified. Okay, so the second goal that we have through the Karma Club is to have people collaborate on common causes with a common purpose. Because like we said, the problems of the world aren't going to be solved by governments and companies alone. They're going to be solved by ordinary people like you and I working together on these global social issues. Okay, so the tipping points for the things that we were talking about, climate change, pollution, overpopulation, war, terrorism, they're not 20, 30 years from now. They're now, they're this decade. If we don't get a handle on it by the end of the decade, guess what? This pandemic and what we've experienced for the last year is going to be a yearly occurrence all across the board. Because if you've watched the news for the last 10 years, what you've seen is a progressive escalation of how climate change has affected hundreds of millions of people in the United States. Storms of the century were called that because they came through once every 100 years. And then they started to come through, every decade or so. And then earlier this year, we had 2 storms come through the Gulf of Mexico on the same day. Never happened before. Okay. Last year, I took a screenshot. There were 7 hurricanes forming in oceans around the world. Never happened before. Okay. And it's not just the hurricanes. You've seen on the news, the tornadoes, the fires in California, the record snows in Texas. All these things affect quality of life. So our approach is that, we're using a fractional approach to solving these issues, and it doesn't work. In matter of fact, with the pandemic, 2.6 million people have died because of that fractional approach. If we would have been all masking up in March a year ago, the results today would be tremendously different. We would not be under lockdown still. We would still not be having rising rates of hospitalization and illness. I contracted COVID-19 on March 3rd this year, and I am damn careful. Okay, and I've had a mild case, but I've had tremendous consequences because of it. And I'm just now at the point of recovery where I'm able to go ahead and do computer work. Okay, right, and really focus again on what I need to do, as opposed to sleeping for 8, 12 hours a day. Okay, so the thing is that the Karma Club operates in 2 ways. One is individual personal responsibility. Second is collective responsibility to get governments and companies to do the right thing for kids, people, and the planet. And again, it works with the 5x5. Okay, so that explains the program. Now, another thing that we're launching is equality education, working for equality of life through planned acts of kindness. So to solve the problems of the world, we need to engage and inspire youth of all ages. Guess what? That's you. Okay. So the thing is, we have 2 paths for that. And what we're going to be doing is introducing this into school systems around the world. Okay. Before the pandemic, I had met with the New York City Department of Sustainability, and we went through our programs, and what they were interested in was taking our One Planet, One People Club program and putting it into the school system for their 1,500 schools. And of course, then the pandemic hit and the New York school system was shut down. At the same time, we were talking to the Minister of Education in Beijing, China, about the same thing. Okay, and of course, right, they're a little preoccupied. So the thing is that we are now introducing this Education for Equality of Life, EQL program, over the next several months in order to have schools adopt it for the fall, in the fall, when the next year begins. And we'll be doing this around the world. So you might be working on doing outreach engagement, you might be working on app development, you might be working on social media, you might be working on program design, project management, any host of different things that are going to impact people in a tremendous way. Our goal is to have these programs in all 200 countries, not by the end of 2022, but by the end of this year. So sometimes we set more ambitious goals, okay, than what we publicly go ahead and state. And what we do is we break this program down, not by grade, but by age range. So the older you get, right, the more can go into the program that you do. Path 2 is doing everything in path 1, but doing it through the One Planet, One People Social Responsibility Club program. And this group that I'm talking to right now is going to be the first group that is going to go through the internship mentorship program in conjunction with our One Planet, One People clubs. So, right, we said, who here is interested in management and leadership? And if I'm correct, if I can recall correctly, everyone here is interested in management and leadership. Is that right? Okay, so what you're going to do is when you come into our program, you're going to come into our One Planet, One People Club program. And this program provides youth with a support program that helps them build quality relationships and a strong sense of community while doing engaging activities that provide quality of life for people, regardless of nationality, race, religion, age, gender, education, or income. And inside the club are all the other programs that we have. The Karma Club, which is Karma gamified, books, workshops, courses, crazy ambitious activities, internship, mentorship programs, right? Our Project Cope wellness program, Sirem, which we'll get to, and everything we do is fully aligned with the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So through the club program, you're going to actively engage in the fields that you're interested in, as well as management and leadership skills. And by meeting every week, you're going to be able to share what your progress and your development is in what you're doing through the organization. And whenever possible, we're going to make that quantifiable so that you can show, I started here, I went through this development, and right after 30, 60, 90 days, we ended up here with this level of impact and engagement. That goes into your resume. That goes into your letter of recommendation. That goes into your portfolio development. And that's what separates you from the tens of thousands of other students who are going through curriculum exactly like you're going through, that don't have those advantages. Because what we're going to do is set you apart from all those other students. So everyone follow that? Everyone think that that's beneficial to your career and your work development? Raise your hand. Okay, and some of you do not have video on, you can still go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go ahead and quickly go through some of the other programs, and then I'm going to go through the One Planet, One People club structure, and we're going to be wrapping up at 1:30 on the dot, give or take 30 seconds or so. Okay, we'll see how good I did. So one of the programs that we're launching is called Project Cope, and it's a happiness and wellness program. People today, through the pandemic, through everything that we're going through, economic distress, right, illness from family, relatives, friends, the pressures of work, the pressures of school, it's only normal, natural that we would sometimes feel anxious, stressed, even depressed, even a little isolated because of what's going on, right, in our lives. Has anyone experienced any of those things, right, in the last year? We got people raising their hand already, right? So the thing is that with Project Cope, it gives people the opportunity to work through the Karma Club and then see how doing planned acts of kindness, engagement, volunteerism can improve your health, your happiness, and your wellness. And we've made it quantifiable. So the way it works, let me see if I can go ahead and get this up. If you haven't downloaded our app on your phone, right, please go ahead and scan the QR code that's on our website and do that. And then here's the app navigation button in the dock. And this is a great breakdown of our programs. So it goes into our 5x5 programs, and it goes into our mission, it goes into our goals, it goes into the power of planned acts. Okay, so you really get to understand how things go ahead and work. And then also the projects that you might be working on. So Project Cope, this goes ahead and explains how it works. And then people can go ahead and take an assessment, which is a series of questions that have numerical value attached to their answers, so that it creates a benchmark assessment level for their health and happiness. And then over a 30, 60, 90-day period, they do planned acts of kindness. They engage in the Karma Club. And what we do is through the app, we go ahead and quantify and codify what they do. And then every 2 weeks, they retake the assessment and their score will change. So we'll see the direct correlation between what they're doing in the Karma Club and their health, happiness, and wellness, right, on a scale. So over time, the more you do, the greater your rewards. And what's really cool about this program is that it's available for individuals through our main app. Okay, that's going to be starting up. But at the same time, if you're a family, you can get a custom branded app for your family or a group of friends. Okay. And then if you're an institution, a corporation, can't do this with the mouse too easily. Okay. Hey, go back. A school. Yeah, I need mouse skills. Hey, stop that. Okay, an MPO or an NGO, right? It explains how it works and how they would sign up for the program. And then we create, like you said, a custom app, and then they can add in things as well, including, besides just doing the Karma Club, they can add in the One Planet, One People Club to the activities they do and see how adding that extra level can increase their overall happiness and wellness score. So this is a program that is designed to promote mental health for everyone. And the thing is that we have something called crazy ambitious activity programs. And through the course of your internship, right, and your participation in the club, you're going to choose one of these things to do and then to manage. And when you're successful, like bringing Project Cope, the Karma Club, the One Planet, One People Club program as a package into things like the prison system, you're going to be featured in a 16 Things book with your picture. You're going to be interviewed about what you did, how you did it, what you learned, how you feel, right, about what you accomplished. And you're going to get copies of that, but so are 10,000 other people. So when you go in to a prospective employer and they say, yeah, so why should we go ahead, right? And what makes you different? What are you going to bring to our organization? Say, well, let me go ahead and show you. And then you show them something that you accomplished in a very significant way. Okay, if you're not on mute, please put yourself on mute. Okay, so the thing is, you might have an interest in sports. You might have an interest in media. You might have an interest in politics. You might have an interest in pizza, right? Imagine getting Domino's or Papa John's or Pizza Hut, right, to put our programs on their pizza box. Please put yourself on mute because we can hear that type of noise in the background. Thank you. So the thing is that you can really make things happen in a tremendously significant way and some very fun activities, okay? We talked earlier about 100 institutions in 100 days. This explains the program and how organizations can join. So a lot of the things that we have are in the app, and we're always expanding what we put into the app. So one of the next things that we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks is when you're participating in our program, you're in a college success team, we're going to add your picture into our app, including what your field is. Okay, so that other people can see, so that you're part of a team, right? And one of the things that you're going to learn to do through the One Planet, One People Club program is not only to work individually, but when you learn something, how to share that with other people so that you can go ahead and learn management skills, right? Communication skills, and also work with teams. And they might be teams in different that are comprised of people in different industries where you have to work together in order to achieve objectives. Okay, so let's go back to, we'll go back to PDF land. All right, so we went through the Karma Club. Sirem is a program that we're doing today, right now, in this entire month. And every day we have activities that we are doing with people, panelists, experts on different issues. And then we're recording that, and then we're posting that, and then it's available for people to view and to go ahead and get engaged, get involved. And because Sirem is so important, we're going to be doing this twice a year. So the next time we'll be doing it is in September. And if some of you are doing summer internships, fall internships, you will definitely be working on some of the initiatives through Sirem. So the way Sirem works is, whoa. The way Sirem works is, remember we talked about the pillars that go into the One Planet, One People movement: civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. That's on Sunday, where we address each of those issues. On Monday, we are doing my television show where I interview people, do long format interviews about civility, about social responsibility, about volunteerism. Tuesday, it's when we tie in one of the institutions to that topic. So on civility, we tie it in with religious organizations because they need to educate their people to be more tolerant of other people. With social responsibility, we tie it into education and practice because it's not all about being a worker. With volunteerism, we tie it into nonprofits and non-governmental organizations because they need to stop their fractional approach to solving global social issues. They're doing it for the money. That's why they have it, because if you go to Columbia University's School of Nonprofit Management for your master's, they're going to teach you that as a nonprofit, you've got to have a single mission, you got to have a single focus, because you need to go ahead, and be clear with your message. Well, actually, they do it because you need to fundraise and you're in competition for dollars. But that doesn't help solve the issue. But if we were collaborating between institutions, between nonprofits around the world, we could then have a global response to climate change, to incivility, to economic injustice. So you see how this works? And then on Wednesday, we have a deeper dive into those subjects. On Thursday, it's all about, your career development, how you master money, how you utilize the 8 foundation skills, our internship mentorship program, and our global social responsibility career opportunities through our organization. We're going to put you through, your training and development. And guess what? When you graduate and you're looking for work, we'd rather bring you in than bring somebody else maybe with 10 years experience, because you now, really understand how to solve objectives in the right way. And you have the culture of what we're doing as well. So when you go through the structure of the club, you're going to see how you can have management leadership skills, which can then also translate to you might having a career through our organization or another. On Friday, it's all about the activities. Okay, so 100 public service announcements in 100 days. The Dirty Dozen, which is a team program based on an old movie that I never saw. Okay, but I did my research. All right, so you get to see that program. And one of the things is that when people engage others and they form their team of the Dirty Dozen, they pledge not to shave during the entire time they're doing the program. And that's for ladies and gentlemen. We just don't tell you where you're not going to shave. Okay, so that's up to you. Okay, so these are really fun type of things that can make an impact. When you successfully go through that program, we give you a custom shaving kit. Okay. The next thing is, we talked about a crazy ambitious activities program where you get to go through that on the app and you say, oh my goodness, I want to contact the Pope. We got a mission of climate change and kindness. Let's get the Pope on board. Okay, well, you can do that. How you can become a global ambassador for our program. Actually, that's through our Peace Laureates and our Deputy Peace Laureates program. So these are all things. Saturday, it's all devoted to, your development through the One Planet, One People social responsibility clubs. So even if you're doing your internship in the summer, what we ask is that you, volunteer a few hours a week so that you can learn our culture, learn our policies, our procedures in terms of, how to do line item outlines, how to do spreadsheets properly to manage your projects. So instead of giving you 3 projects to work on where you're going to do time management, you're going to have 1 project to work on. You determine how many hours and what your schedule is going to be. It could be 5 hours during the week where you attend the One Planet One People meeting, right? And then you do some other things in the evening, right? In relationship to what your field is and that program, so that when you do come in the summer, you don't have to go through a really big learning curve where you're going to be overwhelmed by learning policies and procedures, right? You're going to be able to implement. You're going to be able to get results. And you're going to have tremendous growth from month to month to month. So you got that? Okay. So that's the Sirem program. You're actually going to get a link to this, and you're going to fill this out, just like our organizations do, just like our influencers do. Okay. And that's going to tell us a lot more about you. All right. So that's an overview of the programs. This is, how am I doing for time? Okay. I'm doing okay. 17 more minutes. Okay. Who's my official timer? Anybody? Don't say Apple iPhone. Who's my official timer? See, this is where management and leadership come in. Okay, we got 2 official timers. All right, so I'm not going to tell you how to go ahead and do that. You have an objective, you got to figure out how to do it on your own. Well, I'm not giving you a task list, right? And then giving you a grade and a few comments. Okay, so we're going to see how our official timers do, right, during the rest of this meeting. Okay, so let's get to it. One Planet, One People clubs. Be part of the solution. We want you to help make a difference. From pandemics to policy, right? All in alignment with the United Nations SDGs, right? So all interests, all talents, all backgrounds welcome. And what are our 4 pillars? Civility, social responsibility, volunteerism, and global citizenship. And people can intern, they can volunteer, right? We also have OPT, right? For when you graduate, if you're an international student, right? We've got, right? For people who go through the program successfully and we can work out what we can do. We also have STEM OPT. Okay. So together we can do it, be the hero, right? And sign up today. The One Planet, One People quality of life for all movement, right? It combines planned acts of kindness and career track management. And step 1, right? People choose whether they're going to intern or volunteer. Okay. Internships really go for 4 to, 3 months is really not what we do. We do 4 months because you need a month to wrap up and do all your reports and quantifiable information and everything else. We have people who have been in the program for 2 years as interns and volunteers in order to go ahead and get the experience. We've had people do internships, right? And then finish that up, go back to school, graduate, come back after they've graduated, do another internship, right? Get the resume creds, and then go out and get the job that they wanted. Someone here was from New York New Jersey Institute of Technology. One of our people, one of our students from that program over the summer a couple of years ago was working on an animation project for an entrepreneurial business that I created in order to give experience to people in different fields. And during the course of his internship, he filled up 2 complete notebooks with revisions that he had to go through in order to get it to the level of professionalism that I wanted him to have for that particular project. And that's on a website that's that you can see in the future as well. And he brought his project back to his school. He showed it to multiple professors and students during class presentations. And they said it was the best animated project ever done in the history of the school. Now, he did not show them the 2 notebooks. Okay. If I would have given him all the information up front, he would have been completely overwhelmed and there would have been no growth in terms of what he did. He had to start with thumbnails, then pencil preliminaries, then storyboards. And then he had to go through that progression and learn what is done professionally. Then, right, as he did his project, he had to have the attention to detail to go ahead and do adjustments along the way. And sometimes when you do adjustments, you create other problems in other areas that you have to see and fix yourself. You have to learn how to take proper notes during meetings so that you can implement those notes. Because you don't want to come back, show it to your supervisor, and then they say, didn't we also talk about this, this, and this? And you say, yes. Well, how come I don't see those revisions? Well, I had them in my notes. That's not where you want to be. So the thing is, right, we teach you really how to go through the process so that you can learn step by step. So the next time you do, it becomes much faster, much easier because you're seeing more. One of the things that you've got to learn is specifics, how to get into the details, how to do reporting properly based upon what you're working on, how to come into a meeting and present so that people know what you're talking about, so that they don't have to ask you fundamental questions to get up to speed because you didn't give enough details going in. So this is all part of the process. So you're going to work on quality of life programs, and we have over 20 different fields that we go into under major categories. Okay, we do everything from books to clubs, to books, to courses, to programs, to events, to game development. Okay, my background, just so you know, is I grew up in Florida. I went to University of Florida for my undergraduate, which was English Lit, with a specialization in what's called literary criticism, where you have to analyze works of literature that have been analyzed for literally sometimes 100 years or 200 years. And then you have to write about it. So your analytical skills, your writing skills had to be basically off the chart. So there's not a lot of people, right, coming through that type of specialization. And then my minors were speech communication and creative writing. But I knew I wanted to go to law school because I wanted to help people. So I went to law school, and unfortunately, I found out that it wasn't about helping people. So I had done my internship with the Attorney General's office in Albany, New York, in the Litigation Bureau, writing memorandums of law on public health and other issues. They liked what I did. They offered me a job, and I said, I'm flattered, but no thank you, because I felt that there were other ways to handle situations, and I was a hired gun. And just because I can do things differently and achieve different outcomes doesn't make it the right way to do it. So I left the profession because I had been involved in some entrepreneurial business when I was in college. I expanded that, and I opened a marketing, printing, and design company in Gainesville, where the English department and the law school became 2 of my clients. And then I created a prototype for a national newsstand magazine about helping people deal with the complexities inherent in all types of relationships. Because I felt that there are 3 things in life. There is sleep, there is work, and there are your relationships. So sleep is neutral, toss that one out. You got your work, what do you do? You go to school for 12, 16, 18, 20, 24 years. Everything is designed to make you successful as a worker. When you get out of school and you go to work, guess what? There's continuing ed. There's workshops, seminars, right, on how you can go ahead and spend, right, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to move from that worker mentality to that management and leadership mentality. Okay, this is a training program. We could be charging thousands of dollars for this program. Your professors at your universities would not teach you if you did not pay them. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay, so the thing is, right, we're giving you, right, the program that's missing from your education in order for you to be successful. But the other part of your life, the relationships, what do people do? They look at what their parents did, they talk to their friends, and then they still screw it up. And the reason is we don't have the tools that we need to deal with the complexity that's inherent in the 4 types of relationships: intimate, family, friendship, and work. So I created a publication called Relationships Today that addressed those issues from a psychological standpoint, as well as an educational standpoint. And I presented to Time Warner and Cable News. They both offered me contracts. 6 months later, I had a national newsstand magazine out that was very well received by readership and the psychological community, which I was kind of surprised at because I was a layperson doing, right, psychologically based programs. But what do I know how to do? Research. I know how to communicate. I know how to analyze information and set up things like writers' guidelines so that we had journalists from around the world who are professionals, right, submitting articles for our publication. We could assign articles, right, and give guidelines so that people can follow, so that they can submit, so that we can have content that impacted other people. So magazine did great in terms of content, not so great in terms of finances because it's very, very expensive to do magazines. And I didn't really devote a hell of a lot of time to that aspect. I then went on to create a best-selling board game in conjunction, in partnership with a company out in California, which sold 40,000 copies from people just walking into stores and seeing it. And it was a relationship game as well. And I designed other games and was invited by Hasbro to show product at their corporate office. And I'm like, right, that's interesting. You don't accept games from outside developers. Why are you inviting me? And they said, well, we've seen some things that you've done and we really like what you did. And we think, let's just take a look and, So I went ahead and did that. And they said, oh, you got great stuff, right? Thank you. And I said, thank you for the tour and, for the hospitality. And then I went on to go ahead and start some entrepreneurial businesses and some publications in some different fields. And I ended up making a decent amount of money. And I decided that, I wasn't doing my mission. My mission was to help others. And I was making companies look good through meeting and event planning. So I gave it up to start my first nonprofit, which was 16 Things Kids Can Do. And that's for kids of all ages, because again, we don't always learn what we need to learn. So it doesn't matter how old we are, our parents still want what's best for us. So there are things that we need to go ahead and learn. Out of that grew a program called Planned Acts of Kindness. After the election in 2016, I realized that we were going to go down a path that was not going to end well for millions of people because of the divisiveness that was going on. So that's when I created the Karma Club to gamify the positive aspects of karma. And it grew and grew and grew. And then in 2019, Planned Acts became its own 501c3 nonprofit. And then we were set to launch in 2020. And guess what happened? Okay, you don't have to guess. You know what happened. All right. So the thing is, we've repurposed a lot of things. We've added a lot of programs because we deal with what's going on in the world. So Legacy Lifelines books, right? Project Cope, okay, Sirem. Those are all new initiatives that I created and developed, right, since COVID-19 started, including the app that you see. So we are very flexible. So not only can you learn, but through the club program, you can actually come to us with ideas that you have in order to make things happen. The only thing we're going to ask is that you go ahead and do it in accordance with our policies and procedures. And I must say that our timekeepers have not done, right, their stated objective. They should have, with 5 minutes to go, they should have said, right, Mr. Benjamin, 5 minutes, right, to 1:30. Okay, that's applying something that you were educated about, okay, or that an objective that you need to do. So the thing is, we don't always tell you what you need to do. You need to think about what it is. You need to research it, which you didn't have time to do, right? And then you need to implement it. And you see it works on things that are very small, but those small things make a difference in terms of how you think. And when you start recognizing things like this and then implementing them, guess what? People are going to see the change in you and respond accordingly. So the thing is, the One Planet, One People Club, this will give you the format. We'll be going through these things on a weekly basis. You'll have certain tasks that you will do, certain objectives that you will do through the club program. And, right, we have some really cool graphics. We got a, unfortunately, really long manual that goes through how to go ahead and run a club program, how to do the management, leadership aspects of it. Some of you will go into management fairly quickly because you demonstrate the desire, the determination, that willingness to learn and act upon what you learn. Those are the keys to your success in our program, not just the tasks, right, and the skills that you bring to the table. It's those characteristics that you exhibit. So the next step is you're going to make sure that you've done the startup steps through our website. We're going to email you very shortly or text you very shortly, right? Some of the things that you're going to do before you come in next week, 12 o'clock. And we're going to get you jump started, even though your internship may be in the summer. Okay, you're going to volunteer a certain number of hours to get started. And our timekeepers did not alert me to the fact that it is now 1:30. And I got 52 seconds, 51 seconds, 50 seconds before it turns into 1:31. Okay, so, right, we're not gonna does anyone want to extend it by 5-10 minutes where you have an opportunity to ask some questions? Okay, where I can also go into how the program works remotely in terms of how you go ahead and do your work and how you submit it. Anyone want to extend it by 5 or 10 minutes? Raise your hand. Okay, so I think we have a majority here. All right, so thank you. Okay, timekeepers, you're still not off the hook.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So in a corporate setting such as this, when you're doing like an orientation, I was one of the timekeepers. Would it be inappropriate to interrupt in the middle to say, oh, excuse me, there is 5 minutes remaining? Because that's, we sent them in the chat, but we wanted to refrain from, I think, interrupting.
Okay, good. So you can go ahead and do the chat, okay? But there's no guarantee that, right, the person's gonna see the chat. So you could hold up your hand, right? And you could have done, you know, like 5, 4, 3, okay? There are different ways to go ahead and do it. And right, you might interrupt, okay, as well, because that's your objective, is to get it known that there's a certain time frame. Okay, so there are multiple ways to achieve objectives, and you utilize whatever is going to actually do it. In other words, one of the things that you're going to learn is there's no linear path to being successful. It's never a straight line. Okay, there's something that's going to come up and you're going to have to adjust. And the thing is that by using time management skills, that's also going to make you successful, because what people normally do is they wait for things to happen in order to change where they are. That's not going to work. You've got to go ahead and work to make things happen differently than where you are now. So in other words, if you have a problem in IT and then you send an email to the support company for the software that you're working on, well, they might not get back to you for 2 days. So what are you going to do? You're just going to sit there and do nothing for 2 days? No, you've got to, as soon as you recognize a problem that you haven't been able to solve in 5, 10, 15 minutes, you send an email out, and then you start your research, right, into, right, bulletin boards, into community knowledge bases, right, into, you know, Google, in order to work on solving the problem. And then you can go to team, and then you can go to management. Okay, so there's always ways for you to handle things in the optimal way in order to get the objectives that you want. Now, how the program works is you're going to set up a schedule, whether it's an initial volunteer schedule or later when you're doing your internship. Internships over the summer are normally full-time, even if you're remote. And then what happens is when you start your day, you're going to do a line item text about what you're working on. Not paragraphs of information, right? No one wants to read that. So you have to utilize, right, our policies and procedures to be successful. That's why you go through the preliminary as well. So you learn those things so you can implement them when you really start your main program. Then you're going to get approval for what you're working on, or it may be modified. And then during the course of the day, you're going to show your work. You don't turn in your work at the end. Okay, that's school. Okay, we want to make sure that you're utilizing your time effectively. So we want to make sure that you're on the right track, that you understand the objective, you can communicate that, and then you're going to take the steps that you think are necessary to achieve that objective. And then when you do your projects, we use what we call an 80-20 rule. In order to do, let's say, 80% of what this page looks like, it might take you, let's say, 8 hours to set up. But that last 20% to get it really professional, that might take you another 5, 6 hours. Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. So that might take you another 5, 6 hours. But if you haven't started with the right objective or understood how it works, you might then spend 8, 16 hours going down the wrong path. We don't want you to do that. So you're going to go ahead and turn in your work to have it reviewed, and then you can go ahead and start making adjustments to the next iteration of what you're going to do. And you'll keep doing that until you have the right vision and the right results to where it's at that level of professionalism where we can release it to our 5x5. Okay, so within a very short time, you're going to be producing work that are going to have an impact. And when I say a short time, depending on what your field you're in, it might be that same day. It might be the next day. We're not talking about months. We're not talking about weeks. Okay, if you work on a big project, you learn to time manage. You learn to break it into manageable chunks so that you can have progress as you go along. So you can take care of the little things as well, so that your supervisor doesn't come back and say, weren't you supposed to be doing this, this, and this? How come I haven't seen the result? Oh, I'm working on this, the other thing, and it's taking all my time. That's the wrong approach. Okay, so you're going to learn all of these little nuances that you were never taught in business school. What we do is way beyond what MBAs do in school. Okay, we create programs from concepts to writing, to design, to implementation of systems that are scalable on a global level. I've spoken to CEOs, right, of billion-dollar companies. I've spoken to the heads of entrepreneurship programs at top universities. They understand what we're doing and how different it is. Did anyone see what Kurt's doing? Right, that's great. Kurt, very good. Okay, everybody, give Kurt, right? Okay, that's being proactive, right? That's going ahead and thinking about how am I going to achieve my objective effectively? And that's great solution. So thank you. Okay, so the thing is that this is your opportunity to really advance. Okay, I love the educational system, okay, that I went through as an undergraduate at University of Florida. It's a huge school, okay, 40,000, 50,000 students. I had classes with 400 people. I never felt like a number. Of course, I talk a lot, right? You know, and I got a big mouth, and you know, they knew the school treated me really well. Okay, as an undergraduate. Law school, I hated. That's another story. Okay, so you know, the thing is, right, what we need to do is to change the culture of how we go ahead and proceed through the institutions. We no longer can go ahead and take 12 years to get a medical degree when COVID-19 has burned out or killed people in that industry. And we're going to need a lot more
他
people.
妈是啥呀？我操，说的啥东西？
I'm sorry, put yourself on mute, please. Okay. So we need to go ahead and do reforms. We need to combine apprenticeship, mentorship programs with education in order to achieve objectives. And that's what we're doing. Okay. So I want you to, we're going to send you a link to a spreadsheet where you're going to add your contact information. You're going to have the opportunity to see the PDF that I went through today so that you can, you know, understand our programs more in detail. You're going to fill out the last page of the PDF, and we're going to give you a to-do thing, kind of a things to get acclimated with before next week. Okay. And then any of you also who do the steps beforehand, you're going to be able to set up a one-on-one with me to go through your background in more detail, what your program interest is, and then the customization of your mentorship program. Okay, 1 year we had 5 master's students from Fordham University in global finance. They all did different things. Okay, so when we say it's a customized internship, It's a customized internship. Okay, and it's, you know, it's the same way we work with organizations. We find out what their objectives are. We then plug them into our programs where we can customize our programs to help them achieve their objectives. Same thing that we work with influencers. What do they want to achieve in the world? How can we help them make it happen through our programs? You want to be, right, an app developer. You want to be expert in graphic design. You want to go ahead and be an expert in social media, right? We will help you get there through our programs. Okay? So thank you for allowing me to go overtime, right? If you have any questions, you'll be able to go ahead and get those answered on the one-on-one. Everyone understand how the program works? Yes? Okay. Good. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Be excited about what you have the opportunity to do here. Okay. You will not be doing busy work. You will not be doing an internship where you spend a week learning what you're going to do, and then you spend the next 3-4 months doing the same thing over and over and over again. So there's no growth and development on your end past that first week. We run our programs completely different. Okay? And we want you to be the hero. We want you to be the inspiration to other people. And you're going to see how you're going to do that very, very early on. All right. So again, my name is Lyle Benjamin. Thank you for participating today. I look forward to seeing you again in the coming week and next week, same time. And then we're going to hear from you based upon some of the things you did during the week and where you want to go and what you're going to do to get there. All right. So have a good weekend. Have a good Easter if you're practicing, right? You know that. Otherwise, right? And additionally, stay safe, stay well, and enjoy the little things. Okay. We end our meetings with one thing that we all do, and that is we smile at the end of our meetings. You know, and I'm not leaving until everyone does it. Okay, thank you, right? You know, Sean. We win? Yes, come on, smile. Give me a big smile, please. Okay, the thing is, a smile costs nothing to do. But we are all so wrapped up in what we're doing. We're all so serious, right, about taking care of the things that we need to do, that we don't do it as often as we need to. And if we can learn to do it, even in business meetings, you'll see when you come on to our business meetings with our professional success team, with people that we deal with from other organizations, we deal with very, very high level people. You're going to see how they go ahead and interact with us. And you're going to say, whoa. If you're thinking, you're going to say, whoa, there's a huge difference between what I see, right, on my student meetings and what these people are doing. You want to be like them. Okay? We have extremely accomplished people as part of this organization. Authors, educators, right? Entrepreneurs, people in the United Nations, people who have been ministers of education, right, and health, right, in different countries around the world. These are some of the people that you're going to be interacting with through our program. Okay? So learn how to go ahead and respond professionally to people. So we end our meetings with a smile, and we want you to take that with you during the day and pass it on to other people. It's a simple, planned act of kindness that you can do on a regular basis to make a difference in your own behavior, your own feelings, as well as other people. Okay? So everybody with me? Okay, you can't log off until I see you smile. right? Okay, I can say goodbye to some of you. I can say goodbye to everybody now. All right, thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating. I look forward to working with all of you, right? You've all done a great job today. And this is going to be a really, truly, right, life-changing experience when you go through the program. So again, thank you. Talk to me in the week with your one-on-one, and I'll see you all Saturday, right? And we are going to kick butt, right, in the next month and beyond, okay? So have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And great job, Kurt.